Hi everyone, welcome back. I am April, or Crafty Mom, and I don't know if this video is going to work very well camera-wise, but we're going to find out because I'm just still playing around with how to actually make this work on in my space. So, what I want to make today is we're just actually going to make some very simple pockets, and I'm going to show you how, first I'm going to show you some pockets that I made, and then I'm going to show you how simple they are to make. And also I have come up with a plan for the journal that I made on my video. So we're going to go ahead and start decorating that too. It's a very simple pocket. So I've got 3 of them here, and it's got 1 pocket, 2 pockets, and depending on how you glue it down to the paper, if you glue it down on this side like this, you'll have a 3rd pocket in kind of behind here like this. Let me make sure you can see that. Can you? Yeah, you kind of can. Okay, so I'll creep it up a little bit. And so this particular one I made out of a piece of, it's a book page, and I just folded it and used it as it was, and then I used some scraps that I had, and this is one of the stamps that I made on my last video. This is just a little piece of word. It doesn't have to say anything particular. You can cover it over later. You can add more stuff to it. And these are tags made from the same paper, so just so you can see. And these tags are very simple. I'll show you how to make these on this video as well. And if you recognize, this is the yarn that I bought at the dollar store in my dollar store haul. So I am going to show you, there's this one. And I don't know if you can see over here, but maybe you can, maybe you can't, but let's put this in the middle for a second. Today I'm going to be working out of this. I work out of this a lot. This is a plate that I bought at the dollar store, and I just use my glue and my paint and whatever I need on there, and it actually pretty easily comes up when I decide I want to peel it off. Of course, it's not going to come up now, and it just peels right off, and then I can go back and I can go back and mess it up again, which is good because that's kind of what I do. So I work out of that a lot. And then, so there is that with the matching tags. And here is another one, and I used the stamps on this one as well. And I also wanted to show you that I used the stamp roll itself that I made. This is the one that I made the other day on the stamp video. And so this is just a piece of that, and I cut it off, and I used it just to line the tops to give it some difference and some interest. And I'll go ahead and ink the tops of this too at some point soon, but then I added those 3 stamps that I had made out of the catalogs on top of that as well. So I wanted to make sure that I showed you these. And today I'm going to also show you how simple this is going to be to make. So this is just a magazine page. See? Magazine page. And I just cut it to the width that I wanted. And then you fold. Don't pay any attention to these right now. You fold up. And then you're going to fold. The next fold is going to be a little higher than your first. Then this pocket starts. And so you're going to fold it down. Make up. So now it looks like this. And then you're going to fold it back up again as deep as you want the pocket. So I wanted my pocket, you know, a couple inches. So I flipped it up. And you fold it up. And I'll do it again to show you. But what I did after I did that, I had some words on this because this is clearly an advertisement. I had some words on it and I wanted to cover them up. So I just added strips of copy paper to show you that that's really all you need. And the other thing I took was one of the blocks that my kids used to play with, who am I kidding? One of the blocks that we all used to play with. And I stuck the back in my stamp, my distress ink, and then I just used that to stamp on, and it came up with this neat pattern. So I just stamped it however. And I stamped it while it was folded so that it would be a continuation of the pattern. And so now I've got this blue that's not a bad color, and these reds that are not a bad color, but I kind of gave them something a little more interesting than, you know, trying to sell spaghetti sauce. But if you like spaghetti sauce, I mean, this one I set up, the way I set it up, it says food. This was part of a magazine that I used in my collage for my stamp. And then I just took a strip of paper, I inked around it, I placed the stamp on top after I placed this one down, and I wrote food on it. So, or I wrote ood, and the F made food. So you don't need a ton of stuff in order to start making crafts and start making projects. My light is flickering like creepy, creepy light. So, you know, we're just setting the mood here. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to show you again how I did that. And you can actually just tear it. You don't even need to cut it. Well, I should probably remove there we go. So I I ripped it out. And now I'm trying to fold it back on the line that I had folded it on before. For some reason, I can't. So, and I'm just squishing it down and folding it back and forth and kind of weakening the bond of the paper. I want it to rip, and I want it to rip kind of nicely. You can cut it with scissors, but I'm not too worried about that right now. So what I did, you want to make sure that it's skinny enough to fit in your book or on your project. And this is. So I fold it up wherever I want it. So I've got this one crease here. Hope I can still see. Let's see. Nope, too far. Okay, so I've got this one crease here. I folded it up and just lined it up and made my crease. And now I'm gonna flip it, and I'm gonna fold it down higher than the last one. So I've got this is one layer, then I've got a second layer here, and it's folded down like this. Now you could leave it like this and use it that way if you wanted to. You could have a pocket here and then something decorative underneath. But I'm going to make the other pocket. So up. Oh, right. Okay, I know what I'm doing again. All right, so there's this edge. There's this edge. And then I want my pocket to have a little bit of depth. So I'm leaving, the fold is going to be a couple of inches from where the last fold was. And I'm just pushing down with my fingers and making a squeaky sound. And that's how you fold it. And then and then I'll show you very quickly too. I've got my glue, but again, you can use Elmer's, you can like school glue, you can use, there we go. I just figured out how to make this work. There we go. And so I'm just going to glue the sides. And then I'm going to flip and I'm going to glue the sides. And I'm gluing not the background. I'm gluing the sides here because if I ran a strip of glue all the way up to here, I'd have a mess. So I've got, see, because it's not covering this part, so that's why I'm gluing down the flipper. And so you can then use it and you can make anything you want. You could cut it in half and have, you know, a couple sets of pockets. Let's do that, actually. Now that I've made this particular one, I'll go ahead and cut it in half and make a batch of pockets. And that'll look, oops, I think I'm cutting off camera again. This video may get scrapped anyway, just because. Glue, 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 glue. There. So I cut it in half and made a second batch of pockets. And the neat thing about this is I get two. Oh, I glued it off camera again. I'm struggling today, guys. Okay. So I am going to actually, yeah, I am going to glue here and here, and then I'm going to stick here. I'm a little off my edges, but I did get it somehow. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then if I glue this down, make it a pocket on the page itself, then I will have a 6th pocket. And so that is a very fast, easy way to make pockets. And then you're going to glue it down probably all the way down the back, so your pockets will stay pockety. And then what I did with I used the stamp roll, and what I'm finding is that these have so many options. With the snippet roll type setup. So I just, before I glued them down, I ran a strip here. But another thing you could do is take the pocket edge, and if you want to, you could cut off a strip like this. Here, let's do it. And then I'm going to cut it right in half. And I don't know if you remember, but I said that you could stick 2 rolls together or stick a second strip on. And so I did that here. This is the one that I stamped, and this is the one that I didn't. And so I just measured by eyeball how far up it went. And I'm going to glue this on the side, and then when I put it in my book, I can just glue the whole thing down. Let's see. So I'm folding, and I'm doing it again off camera because I'm having trouble with this today, with this camera view. But I'm folding it in half, whoop, and ripping it, which is fine because it's a collage, and I'll stick it all back together. I'm folding it in half, and then I'm going to glue it like we did with the cover of the journal. So there's, whoop. Oy. Okay, so maybe don't use one of these stamp rolls for this, but a piece of paper would work just fine. This is a little bulkier and thicker than I think I wanted, and that's okay, because I'm going to glue it anyway. Because watch me. Nope, can't watch me if I don't show you. So glue, get the edges, stick it on. Stick it on. There we go. And because of the type of glue I'm using, it's going to take probably a second for me to, I just got to hold it down. And there. Now this side is glued. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. And then I'll have a strip of 6 pockets that I can stick in a junk journal or on a project of some sort. Mixed media page, maybe. Here, let's see. And whoop, just glue my finger. It's cool, it's cool. And there. So I've got this piece that is now oop, edged. Like that. And now I know that this is a little bit wider than what I want. So I'm just ripping a piece of paper here, and kind of I'm just doing it to show you where the pockets are and what it can look like. I'll show you how to make tags in just a second, but this is just so you get an idea, or not, you know. My project doesn't work. Okay, so maybe skip that part if you do it. Let's see. Okay, this will fit in this one. So there's a pocket. And then I'm going to use a white one to show you the next pocket. And then I'm going to flip it so you can see the next pocket. Really, I'm just showing you ideas. So you've got the 6 pockets. Now I'm going to show you a neat trick that I learned from, I believe I learned it from Liz at Liz for a Day. And I am going to take a piece of scrap paper because I have lots of scrap paper, and I'm going to make a tag. We're gonna make a tag. And this is how complicated it is. Very complicated. Very tricky. I just want a one-sided tag to put in my journal. So I got this neat card, and it's just one of the cards that you get in the mail for, you know, trying to get you to sign up for a credit card, or maybe it's, you know, one of those things. One of those obnoxious pieces of mail that you get. And I took the card out of it, and I'm lining it up. I made this. I cut different angles and different sizes of corners that I took off. And so you line up one side on one side, and then you cut. And here's why this works so well. You flip it and line it up with the other side and cut. And so then you've got the same exact angle, or maybe you can see it better that way. You've got the same exact angle on both corners. Where if you just try to guess yourself, I am pretty, I pick up on those things pretty well, and you would think I could make a tag without using this thing, but I really cannot. This is just the easiest way to do it, because then I'm not cutting off more, and then you try to even it out and you cut off more, and then you've got this little nubby, and that's no good for anybody. So that's how I made a tag. And then I just took a hole punch, which I've got my square hole punch again, but you can use a circular, like a regular hole punch, no problem, if you have one. And I made a hole, and now the hole will, I can put some yarn or ribbon, or I've even put paper through them. Let's see. I have definitely put paper through them. Here's some paper that is part of that batch of stuff. That is part of that. I can't talk today. It's part of the scraps, part of the collage scraps that I used up some yesterday. I'm just gluing my tag together, just a little dot at the top there. And now my tag has a very simple, easy to make decoration on it. Which, honestly, I think I'm going to stick on there. Now I'm gluing it. I didn't like the way it was loosey-goosey, flappy. So there is that. So now I'm going to show you another thing, because you don't need to use glue to fasten your pockets together, because you can, whoops, and I just stapled nothing, but that's okay. And you can just use staples to hold your pockets together. And I had glued this on because I knew I was going to be showing you how it worked. And, you know, because symmetry and it's symmetrical, I'm just going to staple nothing here too. And then it looks decorative. And so now, when I put it in my book, when I find my book, here it is. So now when I put it in my book, I'm going to go ahead and put it in. I'm going to put this one in sideways. Because you can do what you want, and because that's what I want. So I'm going to put this one in sideways. I'm just going to stick it down with some glue. Whoop. Hello. Whoops. I don't know if I'm gluing it on camera or off. I'm going to feel really bad if I have to scrap this whole video because I didn't do anything on camera. Alright, so I'm just lining it up. So there's that. And so now I can use this for, like, some of you might be bullet journalers too. And so some of the things that I use these for is my journal pages. I do like top 10 lists sometimes, or, you know, my current favorite, you know, things to eat maybe. And so the food, you know, so I wrote this specifically with that in mind so that I can put some of my favorite foods in it if I want. We have a garden going, and this actually was from a garden book, and food pertains to gardening too, so I could put some pictures of the things that we've grown in here, or I could just put a list of the things we've grown in here. And now I've got this other pocket here that I can use as well. This one's a little bit deeper, so you might want to have something on it so that it will stop it from going all the way down in and making you dig for it. So there's that. And while I've got you on this video, because that actually went a lot quicker than I thought it was going to, and I didn't make a couple of those, and that's okay. I took this picture that I found. It's from, whoops, I'm trying to hold it upside down. It's from a book on gardening. And so I've decided that what I'm going to do with this journal here, we've got the cover now, and it's double thick, and we're about to add a little more. What I've decided I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting these projects in here and use them to fill this book. So what I'm doing now, trying to remember to keep it way up so you can see it. What I'm doing now is I'm just, again, eyeballing where I want to cut my cover. And so I want to cut it right about here because I want to leave some overlap so that I can fold in on to cover my cover. And so I wanted to make sure that I had a little bit of overlap onto the back and onto the inside of the cover so that I can, just because I like the way that looks. So I've got my cover measured out now. I've gone a little bit past the binding here. I've gone a little bit past the binding here, and I have some overage. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. We are going to just go for it. And I'm going to run my glue around the edge here. La 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 la. Run, run, run. Whoops. Run, run as fast as you can. And I'm just going to glue the front part first. Here's an X. Hopefully that'll hold pretty well. And I'm going to line it up. And I say line it up very loosely. And I'm just going to stick my page down here like this. And I know if I hold it for a minute, I will be able to, it'll stick. So there's that. There, now it's sticking. And I'm going to trim my edges. Whoops. I'm going to cut on a diagonal, and I'm going to try to make sure not to cut my journal itself. I'm going to cut on a diagonal, trying not to cut my journal. You can do the cutting part before if you want. I just like doing it when it's stuck down. So I'm cutting and I'm cutting. There we go. And then I'm going to fold it down. And I'm going to glue. I'm probably gluing off camera again. But here I'm folding and gluing. And then I'm going to fold and glue. Run it around the edge. And this is kind of a thicker piece of paper, which I really like because it's going to add even more stability and structure to the cover of my journal. And then I'm gluing and gluing. And so there we go. To fold that and press it down so it makes a nice crease. And there, I've got the inside of my journal done. The inside of my cover, sorry. And now I've got this flappy on the side, and that's okay. Because what I'm going to do is fold and glue. We know this. We know how to do this. We just did it a bunch of times. Fold and glue. That seems to be the takeaway from today. Fold and glue. Whether it's making the pockets or not. So I made those pockets with some very basic materials, just magazines and then the stamps that we made and scraps of the paper that we used to make the stamps. These are those strips that I had torn or cut. And so I made these out of very simple papers. And then again, here's the stamp roll that we made on that video as well. And this is just copy paper. I used the coffee dyed paper as I explained previously. I like the coffee dyed paper. And so I'm using that and so I just folded and cut, and then I glued to make the design. And then I glued stamps on that we had made together. And so this is what a tag is going to look like in this one. And I can use the back of this tag to do some journaling. That's something I do very frequently. And I can ink the edges of the page, or the tag. So now I've got this book, and this is the cover. And I really liked the gate here because it feels like very welcoming to me, and it looks like you're going kind of on an adventure, or you're going to see something that not everybody gets to see, because that gate's going to keep some people out. So it feels like the beginning it could be the beginning of a journey. And so I've got this now, and so I've got an example of the stamps on here. I've got an example of the tags in here, and I've got an example of the pockets in here. And so I'm not really sure what I'm going to do on the page around it yet, if anything, but you could even just write around it. You don't have to worry about, you could write all the way up here and then here, or you could write sideways or sideways this way. Write however you want. You don't need to worry about, where are the lines or what am I, it all needs to go in one direction. No, you just do what you want. Just do what you want. And so I've got that. Whoop. And what I like is that I've still got these flowers peeking through. So even if I cover this center part up, I'll still have, some of this prettiness around if I were to, put something else in here. So I've still got an edge, a border of the pretty flowers on my page. I know I've got my mess. There was one more thing I wanted to show you, because I remember how we talked about stamping on stuff, and we talked about using scrap paper. Well, you can use magazines and stuff for that too. This is just acrylic paint that I use, and I was making I was just playing around. I was making some other craft projects. Actually, I was making this. I painted the cover, and so I took the paint on this that I made, and actually I had already made this a while ago. And I took the paint from it and painted the cover because it had a gray cover, and I wanted it. I'm trying to make stuff match one another, my storage containers. So I put this blue on, and this was something I made, again, a strip that I decorated, and I used tissue paper to do it, and then I used it as an accent around this jar that I had already made. So I just added to it. But I was using the paint to cover the top, which I had already Mod Podge tissue paper onto, and it wasn't the color tissue paper that I wanted. So I was watching Al John, and she made a container, and then I was like, oh wait, I already have one of those, so what else can I do with it to play with it? Anyway, gesso is basically a really thin white paint, acrylic paint, and gesso will make your page look like this. So I don't have to flip it upside down because you're right side up, but it kind of mutes the text underneath, and then you can decorate. And so what I did is I was painting a stripe, and then I painted the cover, and I'm being attacked by paper. So I was playing around with it, and you can do the same thing with just regular acrylic to different magazine pages, and then I can use these purple scraps as purple scraps, or I can not. But I like cleaning off my paintbrush or using paint, wiping it off on something so that I have more, I don't know, stuff to play with, because, you know, a whole room full of stuff clearly isn't enough. And I think that's all I've got for a video today. Once you're done with these, the pockets, you can go ahead and ink them, you can stamp them, you can color them, and you don't need anything super special, just stuff that you have around your house. Or if you want to, like I did here, well, no, I didn't. So if you want to, you can make them a little more elaborate. So that is today. If you found anything worthwhile on this video, please go ahead and subscribe and like. If you did not find anything worthwhile, then keep checking back in, because maybe there will be something that you can use later. I'm going to, I know I keep saying this, and this is the second time I've said it, but I'm going to go through, and hopefully by tomorrow morning I will have gone through and added all of the links for any supplies I might have mentioned, or even just comparable supplies that I might have mentioned, and the links to the other YouTubers that I've mentioned, for example, Pam at the Paper Outpost and Al John, who I am completely obsessed with right now, because she does $5 a week. She has a $5 a week channel at the dollar store, and she talks about how to build up your stash, and I'm learning a lot of neat things with her. And I also kind of want to try to do different things than her. So I'm trying to kind of give you similar ideas, but with different maybe supplies. And I'm hoping to build off what I do in one video and then kind of build off from it in the next video. For example, using the stamps. This is a way to use the stamps that we made. So I want to keep showing you different ways to use stuff that we've already made in our going forward. I don't know if any of that made sense, but I've got this journal now, and hopefully you have one, or hopefully this is inspiring you just to do some crafting. And thank you for watching, and for subscribing, and for commenting. Come check out my group in Facebook. It's Wicked Crafty Mom, and there are a couple questions. You answer the questions. You can lurk after that. You can play with us. You can show us what you're doing. You can share your ideas. And it's just hopefully a place to be inspired and to have fun. Thank you. Bye.